Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Manifesting Muslimah. I'm your host, Zara Pedersen, and I am coming to you directly from my bed. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am sitting here. It is Monday, the 22nd of January, and I am recording today's episode as I have literally had an amazing experience over the weekend because it was my birthday. So, yesterday, January 21st, was my 37th birthday. And this year, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, of course, and all that good stuff. But this year, I decided that I wanted to do something special for myself for my birthday. So, I booked myself a little trip to Seville. I already live in Spain, if you wasn't aware of that. And I had a lovely long weekend in Seville, and I took some time off. And I decided that I wanted to record this episode specifically after having had that trip because I wanted to speak into that whole experience of doing something for yourself that is basically for no other reason than the pure enjoyment and luxury that you can give to yourself. And I wanted to do it while it was still fresh in my mind. So let me give you a little bit of backstory first before I go into like the whole details of all of it. But basically, for those of you who have been following me for a while, you'll know that I moved to Spain at the beginning of 2023, like in the beginning of January 2023, following a very long and strenuous, stressful divorce, lots of anxiety around it, depression, all sorts of stuff. Absolutely horrible. Would not recommend. 0 out of 10. And I kind of was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life anymore. And there was nothing back in Denmark, where I'm from, that was sort of keeping me there. And I thought, I need to do something different with my life. I'm going to reset, I'm going to restart. But first, I'm going to focus on doing basically like a factory reset, going straight back, like erase everything and heal from the bottom up, instead of just kind of like continuously putting, what it felt like to me was like putting plasters on open gun wounds, like, and just trying to survive the day. And I think like a lot of us can recognize this feeling of like, oh, I don't have time to look after myself, so I'm just going to pretend to patch up this massive trauma in my life and then just try and go on with things. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm done doing that. I've got so much trauma. I've got so much stress. I've got depression. I've got all sorts of things that I need to do something about once and for all so that I can actually live my best life. And it's not enough anymore to do the glamorous work or to pretend that I'm strong when I'm feeling weak. And I need to start doing the actual work to get from point A to point B and stay there, and then continue to point C, D, E, F, and continue down the alphabet, right? Instead of constantly resetting, restarting, because that's one thing that I've found has happened so much in my life. I'm constantly resetting and restarting, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only reason why I'm mentioning it is because it felt like I had to constantly go back to like fully back to the beginning, which again, nothing wrong with it. But at some point, you're going to get a little bit tired of that, and you want to be able to maybe reset certain aspects, but not everything every time. It gets exhausting, right? And the only way that I felt like, okay, I can reset now, and the only way to reset without actually having to, completely factory reset again and again, is by doing it properly this time. So I took everything that I had, sold what I could sell, did what I could do, and then I moved to Spain and I focused on healing and sleeping and working through like my cortisol levels, my stress, my trauma. I had my therapy every week, my sessions. I was reading my Quran, I was doing my meditations. When my body told me to rest, I rested and I slept and did all the things that everybody's like, how can you do that? Like, life continues. And I'm like, yeah, but right now I'm taking a break from life because I'm a broken person and I cannot continue life as a broken person. I need to heal and do things for myself. So that's like a shortened version, basically, of what I've been doing the last year of my life. And one thing that I will say about it is that because I took the time to really do the work and really focus on myself and my well being, I've now been able to rebuild a life from scratch where I'm emotionally more healed than I've ever been in my life. And while there'll always be things, so it's not to say that, oh my God, I am Zen now, like I am the epiphany of Zen. No, she definitely is not. She still has her issues and all sorts of things. However, I am probably the most healed, most emotionally self aware person I have been about myself than ever before. And that is because I've took the time to really delve into the uncomfortable things for once in my life and really work through them and sit with some really uncomfortable emotions and reflections about who I am, what I've put myself through, things like that, which means that I've been able to love myself for who I truly am rather than trying to love myself or make other people love myself or love myself because of how other people love myself, but like based on like an idea of who I thought I was supposed to be or whatever it might be, right? And again, I'm so sorry if that feels like a long story, but I want to give you the reason for something that has now happened as a result, which is that as a result of doing all of this work and doing the uncomfortable work, and listen, while I could say like, oh, it's taken a full year, it hasn't actually. I would say the majority of the work after like, there was a couple of months where I was still sort of pretty much in shock and in trauma and basically couldn't do a whole lot of things. And then after a few months, I really started doing the work. And it took me, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months, something like that. I can't like put a specific, number on how many months it took. But it took a handful of months to really do that work when I was ready and I'd sort of like rested enough and I had the sort of wherewithal to really dig down and get into the nitty gritty of what was going on emotionally within me. And then after that, it was more about, okay, now we've got through all of that. Now we rebuild. And so while I say in the last year also included the rest period and it also included the build up period, okay, like all the resetting of the things or like rebuilding up the things afterwards, which includes, manifesting Muslimah and setting up a podcast, having my TikTok, my Instagram, writing a book, setting up courses, doing all of these wonderful things. This is also included in this 1 year. So when I say that, please don't get like discouraged and think, oh my God, I have to take a year out of my life. No, 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 no. You actually don't have to do that. Excuse me. But you might feel like, okay, at some point, I'm going to delve in and take however many months I need to take to focus on the factory reset of who I am to get to the next stage, which is understanding the value of who you are, understanding how valuable you are, how worthy you are, and that you are allowed to treat yourself like the prize that you know you are. And that is what brings me to what I did over the weekend. Was that a long like intro to that part? I'm sorry if it was, but I feel like it is so important to give you that backstory because that is literally what has made me get to this point myself. And again, your story doesn't have to look like mine, but you might realize I don't think I'm valuing myself enough because I would never treat myself to a long weekend in a 5-star hotel in Seville. Now, granted, I didn't travel to Seville. It's a 3-hour car drive from where I live in Spain. So, I saved the money, from like having to go on a flight and stuff. But the point is just the same, is that I took the time to book that stay and I decided for myself that I was going to dress up and feel amazing. I was going to get myself a beautiful room at a beautiful hotel and just treat myself to lovely things for 3 nights. And it was the most amazing thing because there was not a single moment in all of that where I thought, this is too much, you don't deserve this luxury. There was not a single moment where I was counting the pennies, being like, oh, you're spending too much on yourself, the money should go. It was all of it because I felt so worthy of it. And that's what I want you to take away from it. This is what I want you to understand of it, to do the law of attraction and work on yourself to the point where you know and understand your value so deeply that when you treat yourself nicely, you're allowing it, you're accepting it, and you're doing it with love the whole way through. How many times, I'm going to ask you a question and think about it for a little bit, right? How many times have you truly done something for yourself? Bought yourself a pair of shoes, a nice perfume that might have been a little bit pricey, a lovely dress, or maybe even you didn't even buy it. You were just thinking about it and then you talked your way out of it because, oh no, I guess I should be using my money somewhere else, or I should be more like, why is that's too indulgent? Or, having this mindset that is basically saying that you're not good enough for you to invest back into yourself. think about that for a second, because either you've done it where you've actually gone out and spent that money on yourself and almost instantly regretted it, or it's something that you're still thinking back on and thinking, ugh, if I hadn't spent, I don't know, £200 on that perfume that I really love, then I could have, paid off that debt, or I could have done something, and you keep thinking, oh, I have to be, logical with my money or whatever, like I have to do something the sane way or whatever, like the more culturally, socially acceptable thing with my money and treat myself that way. No, who says that? You know, you're allowed to spend your money on treating yourself well. You're allowed to spend your money and not just money, but anything, your time, your experiences, putting on makeup just because you want to put on makeup, putting on something pretty, matching underwear, whatever, just because you want it, not because, there's a special occasion or there's a reason. You don't have to have a reason. I mean, granted, at this point, it was like, oh, it's my birthday. I haven't done something specifically like glamorous or whatever for myself in the last year. But not to say that what I haven't done for myself hasn't been, in my own good. But I wanted to really treat myself and really also celebrate myself for how far I've come in the last year. And I didn't tell anybody that I was going to do it. If you follow me on my socials, I have been very quiet about it. I didn't do it for the Instagram pictures. I didn't do it for the stories. I didn't do it for the highlights. I didn't do it for any of that. I took hardly any pictures, and I just focused on enjoying myself and enjoying the trip, because I wasn't doing it for anybody other than myself. And that's what I want from you. I want that for you, not from you, for you. I want you to be able to do the mindset work, to apply the law of attraction, to apply Allah's love for you to be happy into your life, to the point where you can treat yourself and understand that you are fully capable and worthy of treating yourself the way you want other people to treat you as well. Because that's what you're going to attract in the end of the day. That's the law of attraction, like attracting like. Thinking about wanting that from a partner, from somebody else, whatever, is not going to get it to you. When you start treating yourself the way that you want other people to treat you, then they're going to start treating you that way. That's a little segue into just a little bit of theory around the law of attraction there for you, in case you were wondering. But this weekend for me was so special because, as I said, it was completely about myself, and it allowed me to rest. And I felt no guilt about staying in the hotel, having bubble baths, and just having that time for myself and eating good foods, because the whole premise of the weekend and the whole work that I'd done on myself had kind of led up to this point where I could fully indulge for myself, treating myself, and feel good about it. And I know that some of you might listen to this and be like, oh, Zara, that's just so weird of you to say stuff like that and whatever. And I would say, challenge you in a little bit in that thinking and say, like, why is it triggering to you if you see other people treating themselves and stuff? Because there could be something there as well that might need to be worked on. Okay. And whenever you're ready for it, that's cool. But the point of the whole thing is, because it really made me reflect so much on this whole weekend coming back and everything, really made me reflect on the amount of times in my life where I have denied myself the pleasure of looking after myself and treating myself well and being kind to myself and valuing myself and knowing my worth and treating myself to the same level of worthiness that I want somebody else to treat me in and see from me. And it took me 37 years to fully be in a position where I felt like I could do that for myself. Not because I've made a ton of money, not because I'm rich, not because of anything, but because I chose to invest in myself for my well-being. And that has nothing to do with wealth, but it has to do with making a decision for myself and not feeling guilt or shame or anything around that, about spending money on me so that I could have an amazing time, not again for everybody else, but for myself. And when was the last time you could do that for you? The amount of people that I meet through my coaching throughout the years, even in my membership group currently with some of the women that I'm coaching in there, is that there are so many of you, specifically Muslim women, and I'll get to that in a minute because I do want to speak into that as well, who postpone or deny the enjoyment of being themselves and looking after themselves and really valuing themselves. And the reason why I say Muslim women specifically is because the cultures and the tradition around a lot of Muslim households, and the way that girls are being treated and valued from a young age to the way that boys are being treated and valued from a young age are very, very different. And the way that again, this might not be relevant to you specifically, but I've found that, 99 women out of 100 that I've spoken with have resonated with this in some way or another. And again, it's totally fine if you don't resonate with this at all. That just means maybe you've had a slightly different childhood, and that's totally fine. But that the fact that, a girl's value from a very young age is being placed upon the husband she finds, the kind of marriage she gets into, the amount of children and what her husband can provide for her, not what she can provide for herself, but how somebody will come into her life and they're the ones who are bringing the value and making her a valuable person. Think about that again. I'm going to repeat that because I want you, if you are in this position and you understand this, think about the ludicrousy of the sentences that I've just spoke. A girl's value in a lot of Muslim households, I'm going to say as well, to be fair, a lot of ethnic brown, I say ethnic because I'm Danish, so I'm just used to that kind of vocabulary. So I apologize. I don't mean to offend if you don't understand that. That's framing. That's just the way that I was raised in a Danish, very white country, because they all call me ethnic. But brown, black households, Asian households, where the value of women growing up, as I said, 99 times out of 100, again, if you're the anomaly, then fine, it's nothing to do with you. That's totally good for you, actually. In fact, you didn't have this, working against you in your perception of self. But here's the sentences again. Your value as a young girl growing up was what man you will marry. The value that you have is directly linked and associated to the man coming into your life and marrying you. What is he bringing into your life? And as a result, that will be the direct link to your worth and your value in life. It's an awful sentence, but the more you think about it, you understand how absolutely crazy that sounds. But when you think about it again a little bit deeper than that, you'll understand why perhaps it is so uncommon for you and so alien for you to place proper value on yourself now as a grown woman, a worthy, beautiful, intelligent, financially independent, maybe not yet, who knows, maybe you're still studying, whatever, young woman, going out there, doing her thing and still thinking, I'm not worthy enough to treat myself to the luxuries. I need someone else to come in and give me the value because it's not enough. The value that I bring to myself is not enough. And that's right there is a mindset block that is so powerful and strong. And it's got so many of us in a chokehold. That means that we can't treat ourselves to a lovely weekend somewhere nice because, oh, well, you went alone? Oh, well, when I get married, I'd love my husband to do these. Yeah, that's fine. But while you're single, do it for yourself. And then it'll be so much easier for whoever comes into your life later to continue treating you the way that you're already treating yourself. Because you're not going to get yourself, as the sprinkle lady will say, like a Dusty coming in and saying, oh, you're treating yourself to that? No, we're going to stop that immediately. He's going to be like, oh, that's too intimidating for me. She can afford to do these things for herself. I can't give her that, so I probably won't stand a chance, And so it's kind of like, natural elimination of the people who wouldn't be able to treat you the way that you need to be treated anyway, right? So you will attract the ones that you want, the kind of people who want to treat you to those weekends away, to the massage, to the beautiful perfume, to the nice shoes, dress, whatever. And yes, I know this sounds so materialistic, but this is the dunya. The dunya we're living in is a materialistic one. And while we shouldn't go up into or like only focus on the materialistic aspects of this dunya, we cannot forego that it is a part of the life that we're living in this dunya. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to experience that as well, especially if you're being placed in a position in this dunya by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gives you the blessings financially or the opportunities to give yourself these things and treat yourself to these things. In fact, denying yourself those things would almost be denying Allah's blessings to you. Oh my God, I keep doing this. I'm so sorry, ladies. There's this imam who makes a ton of money. I can't remember. My dad told me about him, by the way. And so he's the one who sort of like referred this person to me. I will see if I can find his name and then I will put it in the show notes. But he was making a lot of money and wearing designer clothes. And he even said, why should I not spend the money? Because, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed me in a favorable position financially. And so, of course, he spends a lot of money on charity and giving in zakat and things like that. But he was also spending on himself because it was a way of him showing gratitude to Allah by saying, I'm not going to, cut myself off financially and live frugally when I don't have, when it's not necessary for me. It would be to deny, I'm hungry, Ya Rab, I'm hungry. And Allah's like, here's some food and there's a fruit tree out in your garden. No, you know what? I'm so tired of that fruit. I don't want to eat that fruit. I'm so tired of it. Yeah, but you're hungry and the fruit's literally growing out in your garden. Do you see? I don't know if that made sense, that little metaphor I just tried to create, but it's basically kind of the same. If it made sense, you know, great. Let me know over on my socials. But that is basically what I'm trying to say is like when Allah is blessing you with something and you're then trying to almost like deny it by saying, oh, I can't enjoy what Allah's blessed me with. That's kind of the same thing. Just saying, think about it. All it is, my darlings, is about perspective in that case, right? Because I know, oh, well, this is a whole other episode and I am going to talk about it in another episode. So you know what, I'm not gonna get into it now, but we're going to talk about in a different episode about, shame and guilt around making more when there is suffering in this world and people who have much less. So that's going to be in an upcoming episode because I know that a lot of what I'm spoken to today might trigger a lot of those kinds of beliefs for a lot of you as well. So we're going to definitely talk about that in a future episode. Don't worry, it's coming very, very soon. But I'm not going to go into that, but just know that there is also answers and ways around that. And it has to do with, again, perspective. Okay. But we're not talking about perspective today. We're talking about self-worth, self-valuing, being able to treat yourself the way you want to be treated by others and setting that as your framework, or like this is how I treat myself. Like attracts like. That's the law of attraction. So if I start treating myself the way I want other people to treat me, by default within the law of attraction, that is what's going to come back to you, and that's what you're going to be attracting back into your life. And again, I said, I'm coming to you, today, a day after I came home in yesterday evening. I'm quite tired because it was a long ride and everything, but not a long ride, but with the packing and so on and so forth. I like taking a day off after my holidays. What can I say, my darlings? I'm trying to treat myself, right? And I come back with all of this emotion of, oh, that was really nice. I'm so grateful that I did that to myself. And this is why I wanted to record it today when the mind is so fresh on the enjoyment of what I did and how grateful I am to myself for doing that. And I want you to be able to do the same. I want you to be able to do the same for you. And it doesn't have to be going somewhere and staying. It could just be saying, I have been looking at this specific jacket and I can afford it, but I keep saying no. I had a client once, if you're listening, you know who you are, I'm not going to mention names, who kept saying, I can afford a Tesla, but I don't know if I should be getting a Tesla. I'm like, how long have you wanted it? Oh, 10 years. And you can afford it? Yes. Why are you not getting it? Oh, I don't know if it's too flashy, if people are going to think of me. Like, it's not what people are going to think of you, it's what you think of yourself. That's the only thing right now that's stopping you from buying it, is what you're thinking of yourself. Change that belief about it. And she went out and she got herself a Tesla and she was so happy. And one of her concerns, I'm going to say this again without mentioning anything about her privately, is we did the coaching and she was a young, successful, beautiful woman. And her whole mindset and fear was, if I'm doing all of these things for myself, I'm going to intimidate a man coming into my life and wanting to do these things for me because I'm going to be too successful for him. I'll make too much money. shortly after we finished coaching, she got the Tesla. Shortly after, she found her husband, got married, and even shorter than that, she got pregnant and has a baby. She's got the whole trifecta now. The Tesla, the husband, and the baby. And she did it because she stopped trying to negotiate with her own value and her own self. It's about understanding who you are and being that version of you. And once you fully embrace it, it is so much easier for someone else as well to come in and embrace that about yourself as well. But if you keep making excuses and try to play small, you'll find yourself spending the rest of your life trying to make excuses as to why someone has to treat you nice. Well, you should treat you nice because why are you making an excuse for why this person should treat you? Just treat you nice. And that goes for you as well. Don't make excuses for why you should treat yourself nicely. If there's something you've been looking for or looking at and you can't afford it, stop trying to bargain with Allah, with society, with yourself. Go and treat yourself. Do something nice to yourself, for yourself. You 100% deserve it. It is important for you to get it. It is worth it for you to get it, not just in that moment, but in the way that you energetically align yourself with the life that you want and how other people are going to enter this life if they want to be a part of your life, enter that life with you and treat you as a result of that. And that is why it is so important. Law of attraction states like attracts like. It doesn't say what you want is what you attract. In fact, what you want is often the thing you won't attract. It's not often. What you want, you never attract because it is who you are. What you're placing, the situation you're placing yourself in, the mindset you're in, the way that you're thinking about yourself right now, how you're acting, the actions you take, the way that you think, the things that you say, the everything like that, the thoughts you think, that is what you're attracting. So make it worthwhile and start small. If it feels too uncomfortable for you to go out and buy the Tesla, if you're in that situation, go out and buy something else first and get yourself accustomed to it. Start treating yourself as a valuable person who deserves good things in life. And I promise you, immediately when you start aligning yourself energetically with that life, you're going to start vibrating that. Your frequency in your whole body, your energy, everything is going to start vibrating that out into the universe, out into the world and the people around you. And you're going to find that your whole world shifts and changes to that, also mirroring everything that you're mirroring back out to it, back to you again. And you're going to get more of it. Oh my God. Okay, my darling, I feel like I have said a lot already in this episode. There were so many things that I could 100% go so much further into depth on. So if you would like, if there was something that I said in today's episode that you were like, you mentioned something there, I'd love for you to go into like a bit more of a deep dive into that specific thing. Feel free to let me know over on my socials at Manifesting Muslim Mom. Also, if you've got any ideas or topics that you'd like for me to discuss on the podcast, you also know you can reach out to me on my socials. And if you want to work with me, there's a link in my bio. I got one-on-one coachings, I've got online calls, I've got a book, and I've got, what is it? Oh, my membership, my group coaching that we meet, where we meet twice a week. Go sign up for whichever one of the things that suits you best. Let's start getting you to live that best life that you want. And if you're struggling to set yourself up for it in the right mindset, darling, book a call with me. We're going to get you sorted and get into that, living that life that you know you fully want and deserve so much faster. Stop wasting your time. Time in this dunya goes by so fast. And before you know it, subhanallah, we're looking back and we said, I had that idea 10 years ago and I'm finally doing it. Well, what if we could half that time? What if we could do it next year? What if we could do it in 2 weeks? I'm just saying the possibilities out there. Anyway, my darling, thank you so much for joining me again in this podcast. I will see you on Thursday for my next episode. Take care. I was actually going to say something again. I can't remember what it was. Oh my God. No, I lost the thought. My brain farted. It is gone now. Thank you for the thought. It clearly wasn't that important. Otherwise, it would have come out. Anyway, my darling, thank you so much. I will see you in next episode. But until then, my darling friend, please don't forget to live in love.